the enemy's attacks and Jesus' grace. Welcome, dear listeners, to this episode of During Bible Study Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kitts, and today we're going to dive into a topic that it really hits close to home. It's the way the enemy often uses the closest ones around us, our family and friends, to point out our faults and to make us feel inadequate. But thank God that Jesus does not look at us for our imperfections. In fact, He uses them for His glory and to reach others. Let's explore in detail, with the Scripture's help, how to strengthen our hearts and our minds. One of the most painful ways the enemy uses an attack against us is through the words and actions of those that we hold dear. Whether it's harsh remarks, an offhand comment, or constant reminders of our past mistakes, these moments can sting the most because they come from people that we trust and we love. The Bible speaks clearly about how these words can really cut deep. And we see this in Proverbs 18:21. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. The enemy knows that if he can use familiar voices to sow doubt, insecurity, and pain, it's much more effective than attack from a stranger. Think about how many times in your life when a simple comment from a loved one felt like a punch to the gut. It's not just a coincidence. It's a tragic design to shake your confidence and distract you from your purpose in God. The beautiful truth is that while the world, and sometimes even our own families, have highlighted our failures, Jesus does the opposite. He looks at our weaknesses and sees an opportunity for His strength to shine through it. Remember Paul's words in 2 Corinthians 12:9? But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. Jesus doesn't turn away from us when we fall short or fail Him. He steps in and He lifts us up. When our enemy whispers lies through the voices of those around us, Jesus speaks the truth that we are loved, valued, and chosen by Him. He uses our mistakes not to shame us, but to remind us of His grace and His redemptive work through our lives. Consider the story of Peter. Now, Peter was one of Jesus' closest disciples, and even he experienced failure. He denied Jesus 3 times. We see that in Luke 22:61-62. And it was moments that caused him great shame. The pain of failing someone that he loved must have been unbearable. But did Jesus condemn Peter for that? Nope. Instead, after His resurrection, Jesus reinstated Peter, giving him the charge to feed His sheep in John 21:15-17. Peter's failure didn't disqualify him. It prepared him for the ministry that lay ahead of him. We also see the story of David, who commits serious sins, including adultery, orchestrating a man's death, and all sorts of just evil works. Yet David repented sincerely, and God still called him a man after His own heart in Acts 13:22. God's forgiveness and the use of flawed individuals shows us that He doesn't hold our mistakes over us or against us. He uses them as a testimony of His mercy and power. So as we close today's discussion, remember that even though the enemy uses the voices of those around you to point to your shortcomings and mistakes, he may even use you against somebody else. Keep that in mind too. Jesus responds by calling you loved and redeemed. He takes what others see as failures and turns them into a testimony. Isaiah 41:10 is a promise that we can hold on to. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. When you face judgment or criticism or reminders of your past failures, let them push you closer to God. Thank Jesus for using your weakness for His glory and for being the voice of truth that drowns out the enemy's lies. Well, thank you for joining me again for an episode of During Bible Study Podcast. I've been your host, Steve Kitts. May you find strength in knowing that Jesus' love covers all your good and your bad, and that your story, with all its imperfections, struggles, and doubts, is a part of Jesus' perfect plan. Until next time, stay blessed. God bless. I want to take a minute to talk to you about Buzzsprout. Today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new market or a channel, may I suggest that you share your thoughts and your ideas with the world. And it's just so fun to have a talk show. Podcasting is very easy, inexpensive, and a fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more within minutes of finishing each recording. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and a team that they have at Buzzsprout is passionate in helping you succeed. They want you to succeed. Join with over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Let's go ahead and create something together. God bless you.